I'm going to show you how to cast on for a center circular beginning, like you would use for a top-down hat or the center of a circular shawl or doily. You really cast on in the most basic way, just the way you do for anything. So I've got 8 stitches that I cast on using a two-tail method, which is this method. You may do a knitted cast on, which is fine too, but I'm going to show you first just with a regular two-tail cast on. The critical thing at the beginning is you want to leave a tail that's at least 6 to 8 inches long. Mine's a little long here, so I'm going to break it, because the hardest part of this is not to knit with the tail, so make sure you keep that tail separate. All right, so if my pattern said to cast on 10 stitches, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 right there. And then the next thing it says is probably divide on 3 needles and join to work in the round. So what I'm going to do is show you a little bit of a trick that I do when it says that, which is to first slip my stitches, onto just 2 needles. So I had 10, so now I've got 5 on each, and I'm gonna just fold them towards each other to start. It's a little bit easier. You could put them immediately on 3, and that's what most directions will tell you to do. But this solves a little bit of the flopping around part at the very beginning. Here's my tail. I always want to know where that is so I don't use it by accident. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. All right, now we're going to start to knit. That's how you join. When you join to knit in the round, you simply start your pattern. See, I grabbed that tail to knit with. Here we go. Here is my real yarn that's attached to the ball. And I'm going to knit my first stitch and work my first pattern row. Now my first pattern row in this particular pattern tells me to knit 1, make 1. I'm going to make 1 with a backward loop over the needle, always pulling that really quite tightly. Knit 1 again, make 1 again. Now, I want this eventually to be on 3 needles, and this is the point that I'm going to do that. So since I have 10 stitches, I'll put 3 on 2 of the needles, 3 original, and 4 on the other. So I'll switch, bring in another needle, continue to work as the pattern first round, knit 1, make 1. It's a little floppy, but it's okay. Knit 1, make 1. Okay. I want more stitches on this needle, so I'm gonna take a couple more from here. Knit 1, make 1. Knit 1, make 1. Gonna bring in my 4th needle here. Knit 1, make 1. Whoops, make 1 that got away. Make 1, knit 1, make 1, knit 1, make 1. Okay, now let's look at what we have here. Looks like a mess right now, but let's just get it sorted out. Let's get those stitches in the middle of the needle so we can see what's going on. There. Now it looks a little neater. We have that tail that we managed not to knit with. Yay. We have the yarn that goes to the ball. And we have stitches divided on 3 needles. for knitting in the round. But we also have a hole in the middle, and we don't want a hole in the middle of our hat, right? Well, we can take care of that. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to continue to follow our pattern for several rows, and then it's easier to deal with that hole. So, by the magic of video, we're going to bring in, ta-da, I have knit 6 rows here. And, oh, you notice different needles? Well, that's all right. I've knit 6 rows. You can really see that hole. In fact, it's gotten a little bigger, look. It's stretched out a bit, and you might be worried about that. Don't worry, that's okay. And it's actually a help while you're knitting to have that little bit of extra leeway there. But now we want the top of the hat to be nice and neat. So we're going to take that tail that you left, that 6 to 8 inch tail, thread a tapping needle, and we're going to close that hole. This step is analogous to what you do at the top of a hat when you work bottom up and you get to your last few stitches and you weave your end through the top stitches. So that's what we're going to do here, only they're not live stitches, they're cast-on stitches. So in this case, I'm going to go counterclockwise because to me that looks like the best way to close that hole. And I'm going to pick up a thread from each of the cast-on stitches. So I'm going to go through, pull a little bit, go through, pull a little bit. We're going to do this for every cast-on stitch. I had 10, so hopefully we'll see how that's starting to close. Hopefully I'll find 10 loops to go into, but if I don't, that's okay because they're cast-on stitches, they're not live loops. Okay, let's give it another little tug. Oh, it's closing nicely. I think I'll need less than 10 to close that. This last one is a little tight. There we go. Give it a little tug. How about that? That's pretty acceptable, I think. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my needle right through the middle and pull to the other side. And there, look at that. That's really nice. And you'll weave your end in on the other side. So you have a nice, tight, circular center cast on. That's the most basic way to do it and really the easiest.